You got to preach when it's popular and preach when it's not popular.
Yeah.
And you got to know when God is telling you to preach a certain message and when He's not. So you can't get tangled up with people. You got to flow in such a way, and I'm glad God sent me through fast food and through management, because in management you got to learn how, okay, we may be cool, we may talk about all this, but when it's time to do the thing you got to do, and I tell you we need to roll, it ain't no friends now, we need to roll. And so I learned that in management, what helps me in church. Yeah, we might have the coolest conversation, but when I tell you I need something, you need to move. You need to move, and you have to build the rapport like that they know when
The switch comes.
yeah, and that's when a whole lot of people in church don't know the switch. And want to call their leaders crazy or two-faced or whatever, because why you just sitting there and talking with me and Now some are out of order in what they talk about, yeah. But sometimes we don't know the switch. You got to know when I'm walking in the anointing and when I'm just acting crazy. You got to know the difference. Yes.
That is hilarious that you say that. But because it's one of our it's a partner, and I always be like, oh my gosh, this lady here, da da da. You know how she just like Carolyn, and then, like I talked with her one day, and I would have never known that she didn't say this, and I was like, do you just hang up the phone on me and whatnot? I said, no, Carl. I said, she's like, oh, no, I would never do that to my first lady, and I was like. You said what? You don't call me your first lady, but it was funny because but it's like, if my thought when I would look at her and the way she would act, sometimes I'm like, it's just gonna be some work with this one here, you know. But when she said that, I was like, okay. She said, now maybe if it was something else, and I'm calling, basically like if she's calling Carolyn, she may just need to talk to Carolyn or talk, you know, just do this, which I'm gonna be real. Anybody know me? I'm gonna be real anyway. Whether you want to say First Lady Carolyn Pucci or whoever it's gonna be, I'm gonna be real. But it was just somehow she did the shift, and she said that, and I was like, okay, all right then, you know. But it was a shift that she gave and that she said that had me think a different way, because my mind was like, you know, I remember I had an elder letter. But I know a pastor who said, he would always say, you can pastor some. You would not always pastor all of those in your church. Some of them are just going to be in your church, and some of those you are going to pastor. And I never understood that for a while, and then I began to understand more and more what he was saying. So I had just already put this person in a situation like, well, they just to the church. I won't never be the first lady to her. I would just be somebody, you know, she'd just be, you know what I'm saying. But then when she did that, when that was done, I was like, okay, well, there is a shift. There is a difference. She do think differently, but I would never know that she would never say that out of her mouth. But there was a shift.
It is, because when we joined LWC, before we joined, and I knew, before we were at the meeting, and I already knew what the Spirit of the Lord said that I was going to join, I went into prayer, because I had to know, okay, she's not Carolyn anymore. She's not my friend anymore. You know, she's still my friend, but you know, I have to learn. I have to learn how to switch, turn my hat around. Okay, she's first lady, and he's pastor, but he's always been LD. But I have to say, well, she's first lady now, so I do get offended when people play with her too much. I be like,
And she gives me the look
I'm
like,
not being real.
I know. She don't like it at all.
I walk away, I'll be like, you know, I'm going to say something. Go to the back. You ran.
And I'll be like, it's okay.
Wow. Yeah, so I mean, I think we need to teach more in church the switch, the shift, because you don't always have that word right then and there that they want. And and stuff. So we got to teach that.
Pastor, I think oftentimes it's a learned
Behavior.
action, a learned behavior, because of the fact that you go so many places and do so many things with so many people, and they interact so many ways. You have to understand, and it has to be a learned situation, whereas you have to gauge every situation or every time you're in there with the actions that are corresponding. I know that when we're in a certain atmosphere, we laugh. I know that when we're in another atmosphere, that I'm not going to laugh. I know that there's another atmosphere where I'm serving, and service is what I'm there for. And same with everyone in here. I know that I can laugh and joke and play with everyone in here, but when Deacon Doug comes over to me, I can laugh. But when Deacon Doug comes over to me in another time, I know he's Deacon Doug. It's a learned behavior, and sometimes people haven't quite learned that behavior, so to speak. So it'll come with repetitious behaviyer, so to speak, when we're able to do that.
But it brings me to Annette too. Every time we move, I am Annette. Mr. Coleman.
You're Minister Coleman.
And
Minister Coleman.
right. No, I mean back then. I'm Annette. We're in a different environment. I'm just Annette. I'm sorry.
When we first met Deacon Coleman, we go sit in his house, and he said, I'm Alonzo right now. I'm like, no, you I met you as Deacon Coleman. How can I say Alonzo when I met you as Deacon Coleman? You know, it's kind of hard.
It's too hard. That's a hard one.
And now the transfer, the transfer of the spirit, and now it's minister, so you get caught up because it was deep.
Now it's deep men. I said all deep men.
Well, I'm not offended, okay?
And you have to watch that, because if anybody, I was thinking, as Minister Pastor was talking, I was thinking, if anybody see me and Bishop talk,
Like last night.
we just off the hook with each other. But then when they see us transition into the ecclesiastic part of it, they be like, okay, won't y'all just back there cutting up? Yeah, we were. But you gotta know. I know how to we can talk, but then I know, okay, that's Bishop. You know, and so you have to know how to do that, and then you got to learn how to flow that way and be that way. So yeah, it is I think a learned behavior. I think it is something that has to be taught in church, because we don't have that mindset. I think too many people have always wanted you to have this certain air about them, and because of that, we keep that air, and then when you see the wrong thing happening, you because you always try to keep that air, to lose respect. But if you know the different shifts, you don't lose respect, because you know that's a different shift. You know that's a different shift.
I'm looking at Tarnika because her face is like, and I know with us working together, it's a whole different relationship, because we work together, we laugh together, we talk about the people together, like when they upset us, the managers and everything, and then when we come in a setting like this, we're like, okay, girl, come on, it's time to get real. Let's learn what Pastor is saying, what Elder is saying. So it's like it's a whole different thing when it comes to her and our relationship. She just looking like, she's probably over there thinking like she's going to always be Carolyn me. What y'all say?
Why you been here
for? No, Eater, not Carolyn. What's up, Eater?
But I think also this is very important, and also we need to teach it. It needs to be said, because the younger generation needs to know, and they need to recognize the shift, because we may laugh and play together, like Nicole and Carolyn. They just cut up all the time, but in certain situations, this is First Lady Eaton here. This is not Carolyn. So you know what you get used to, and you have to know how to transform for the different situations.
That is true.
And I think we do need to teach so that they don't be like, okay, what's wrong with you?
Right, right.
I think I need to ask questions. I just asked, are you talking to me as Elder Eaton, or are you talking to me as my daddy?
Or you call and say, I need daddy, not Elder Eaton. Yeah.
I need to know which level you want. I'm coming to you, and I need you to give me your perspective as a male, not as my daddy. I just need your perspective as a male, and then you can give me your perspective as my daddy afterwards.
That's good. That's good. And I think that has to be. I think also when we took the young man for the men's thing, and they saw us in that atmosphere, it allowed them to gain a greater respect. Okay, so y'all just stiff necked in church and stuff. Y'all can really do some other stuff. And so when you get in other atmospheres and you do different things, and then you transition back into the right atmosphere, it helps bring a totally different light. And I think that's very important. That's a part of a church that we don't really teach that we need to. We definitely need to.
How do you bring that up without them being offended? Right?
I think you have to be in atmospheres like this. You know, unfortunately, many churches, I tell you, many churches don't like atmosphere. I take that back. Many of our churches don't like atmospheres like this. But when you go into other cultures of churches, they promote stuff like this. Mega churches promote little groups, cell groups. And it is so much easier to be yourself in a cell group than it is sometimes in a bigger group where you can't get the answers, and you're able to have a lesson and break it down like this in a session like this, because you're in a session like this than you are when you're in a bigger session, and everybody, because see, everybody ain't gonna want to hear that. You know, so I think you have to be in a session like this. Then you got to make yourself available. You know, some people don't learn stuff because they ain't available, and you got to make yourself available to be able to say something. I remember one preacher told me, a superintendent told me, he said, it's not, the anointing is not according to your gift or your ability. It's really according to your availability. Somebody could be more gifted than you, but are never there. But because you're there, you're not as gifted, you're anointed.